Getting a pentest job in 2026 it's still possible, and in this video I'm gonna give you some practical guidelines on how you can achieve this thing faster. Now let's start right off the bat. The main thing you should care about when applying or needing to get a pentest job is skills. So the skills is the one thing that can give you the job, and that's the one thing that can distinguish you and separate you from the rest of the people trying to apply. So how do you acquire skills? The honest truth is that the skills can be acquired only from pure, consistent, raw practice. You cannot acquire skills by reading, you cannot acquire skills by just watching a video. It helps, it's part of the process, but the raw skills, the practical implementation is that what makes you separate from the rest. So you need to have constant practice, which leads you to gaining more skills. And now how you can get this practice, we go down the line, and we need to explain this diagram because it's quite important. In the field of pen testing and in the field of cybersecurity in general, you cannot just go with the cybersecurity. For example, here you can see the ethical hacking is just one of the plays, but you have three pillars that I like to reference in all of my videos and in my own skill set. Now these pillars are: first, network administration. So it doesn't matter what you do in cybersecurity, is it a pen testing or a more like for boot teaming job, you need to have network administrator skills, because you need to know how to connect different devices, how networkings are working in a nutshell, how firewalls are working, IDS, IPS, all that kind of stuff. You must know that, because this ultimately helps with the cybersecurity itself. On the next hand side, you also have the system administrative part, because some of you guys maybe involved with Linux, as I am now, as you can see on my screen. Some of you might be involved with administrating devices, making your own lab environments and all the stuff like that. You can also go from that path, or you can also be involved with programming or with all of them. So in a nutshell, the network administration, the system administration and the programming are the three main pillars that are needed for you to be efficient in cybersecurity. Whether it's an ethical hacking, whether it's a boot teaming, any other stuff, doesn't matter. You need to start from the core, because the more foundation you have in one or more of these pillars, the better you're gonna be in total when it comes to ethical hacking. Because if you think about it, just getting a shell, the pure act of getting a shell, is a combination of all these three things. First, getting a shell is happening over the network. Then you need to have the ability to, for example, manage the system after you get the shell. You need to know how to scan for privileges, for vectors, for attacks, how to escalate your privileges to anti-authority system or root. So that's a sysadmin background there. And also the shell itself, the motive that you use to get the shell, is also programming. So just one few tiny example can be seen that demonstrates that in order to be efficient in ethical hacking, you need to have the strong foundation of all three chained together. Now, how do you do it? Is by combining curiosity and passion. So let me showcase how this works like. Now, the way it works and the way you go with practicing all this stuff is when you combine yourself, enough curiosity and passion, and you have some kind of an outcome. What I mean by that? These things here are huge. It's gonna take years for you to learn them. And it's gonna take years just for one of the things. And that's not how you should approach it. It's wrong to say that you must be brilliant programmer, brilliant system administrator, or brilliant network administrator to get a job at ethical hacking. That's wrong. Of course it helps, but that's not the right mindset, because this is gonna take you so much time. Just one of these segments is gonna take you years. But what I wanna say is that the mental shift must be different. Because nowadays I see all of the guys jumping straight into ethical hacking, and since they lack the basics of these three, they feel so much struggle to push and to receive the content that I do in my videos, and not only. So just to have it as a mindset, you can design your strategy around these pillars. I can give you some examples. For example, you're curious about what is IDS, IPS, firewalls, how they work, and what kind of rules they use. you're passionate about networks, shells, evasion, and for example, network operations, then a good learning material is going to be building a lab in which you can deploy several machines. On one of them, you can deploy IDS or IPS sensor. On some other machine, you can try to launch attacks, see the rule set, see how it works, document everything, which you're going to speak about in a few minutes above, and then that's how you learn. That's just one of the endless examples on what you can do to increase your skills. Or maybe you are curious about C2 frameworks and you are interested in how they work. Then you're passionate about coding, you like to program. Then what is stopping you from learning on how to create tools or even C2 frameworks? Nobody says that it's gonna be perfect. Nobody's saying that it's gonna work great. Nobody says that it's gonna bypass any EDR or AV. No, but it's gonna be a cool project that's gonna make you learn a lot of stuff along the way. So that's what I'm trying to say. And also, nonetheless, it's good for your portfolio. When you say you are developing something and you can showcase that or maybe open source it, trust me, this is giving you a lot of points. Then nonetheless, for example, you are just passionate about hacking, you don't want to build stuff, you don't want to build labs, but you just want to hack into systems, and you're passionate about hacking, nothing is stopping you from going there and trying to hack the box and learning everything across the way. So these are just few examples on what you can do, and the reason why I give you these examples is because in the field there, in the pen testing field, there are many types of projects that you can run day to day. Some companies, some places, they stick to more web apps, whereas I'm a fan of Active Directory and social engineering and phishing and all that kind of stuff. But the reason why I say that is there are many types of projects that you can do. And based on the types of project, they can spark a different kind of interest in you. For example, I went for Lsecqt, I went for malware evasion, I went for malware development, I went for C2 development and all that kind of stuff because I have the curiosity and I am passionate about that. I'm not passionate about web. If you see my channel, I have like 10 videos about web. I'm just not passionate about it. These do not mean I cannot do it, I can, but the way I feel passion the most and the way I feel joy doing the project or doing the work is when I have Active Directory or social engineering. On contrary, there are people who enjoy web, and that's nothing wrong with that. The web is quite interesting, it's just not for me. So the way I want to say things is that the most important thing is to first identify where you can imagine yourself the most, where you think you're gonna feel most pleasure or most fulfilled doing that kind of work. So for example, as mentioned, a lot of guys are doing that for web. Me personally enjoying AD and social engineering, and there are plenty more types of pen tests that can get you hyped and hooked on specific topic. And this gives me another thing that I forgot to say, and it all comes down about passion. I know I mentioned passion above, but I want to give it special attention here, because the way you can see things is that there are many types of projects, many technologies that you would need to learn, many things that you need to do in order to be efficient and good pen tester. And I have that theory that without a passion of doing that, you're not gonna do it. Because the amount of information that you have to learn in order to be efficient with just one of these segments is enormous. For example, for web, you have to know the OWASP stuff. You have to know the injection attack. You have to know how to properly recon the web application. You have to know how to properly test authorization, authentication, all this kind of stuff. For Active Directory, you have many more stuff. Building a phishing campaign is not that easy. So the amount of things that you need to learn is huge. And if you don't have a passion for these things, I don't think you can find the motivation to do it. That's why I'm not starting you guys with get this course or get this material right off the bat. No, I'm starting you with a question to go deep and try to see what is the passion type of work, the passion type of projects that you feel like most doing. Because if you think like getting a pen test job is cool just because of the money, then I don't think that's the right job for you. I am pausing the video just to say massive thanks to all of my Patreon sponsors. This content on YouTube is free and it's always gonna be free. The only way to support my work is by becoming a Patreon. By doing so, you're gonna get access to internal videos, documentation, tools that you can find handy. Thanks so much, and moving on. But if you are curious about and playing around with different kind of attacks, different kind of environments, getting to know the technology, then I think that's the right path. So just start from there. And now, how you can start? I can give you guys a simple whoop that you can do based on your interest. So the first thing on that whoop is to, of course, find your curiosity or passion segment. That can be web, that can be AD, that can be MalDev, that can be network stuff, that can be Wi-Fi, that can be physical security, even that. So try to find your passion. And then when you are sure, or when you have some kind of a guides or internal feelings about that, what you do is good, then you can go and start practicing this daily. Trust me, now we live in a day and age where practicing is not a problem. The only problem is you actually going there and starting. So you have Hack the Box, you have Try Hack Me, which is even more beginner friendly. You have a computer on which you can program, and if you have an idea and if you have a tool idea, you can start building it, start to research how to code, use that as a project, and you can start to practice. So it's literally, guys, nothing is stopping you from practicing things you have the passion daily. Since you go with step 2, you can then connect the dots, because as mentioned here, this can be a lot of things, and nobody expects you to learn it at once. Nobody expects you to first be efficient at once to move on to the next. No, what I mean by connecting the dots is when you encounter some kind of a daily practice, let's say it can be Hack the Box, building tools, building labs, whatever. When you do that and when you're practicing this daily, sooner or later you can find yourself in a position where you need to know specific things that were missing before. For example, when you practice Hack the Box, you're gonna find that first you need to learn how to properly recon the application. You need to learn a little bit of Linux to know how to navigate your VM, how to connect to VPN, how to use the tools you have, how to make session, how to use tmux, and all this kind of fancy stuff. So you need to learn the Linux first, and then you can go there into this path and connect this dot. Then maybe you're trying to get a shell, the shell is not coming back, maybe there's a firewall there, maybe you use some kind of weird port that's not allowed. This can then again force you to go and learn why this failed, and you can find out that the port you used sucked and that's not good port, and then you see why it doesn't work because the firewall restricts it. Then you know a little bit of a network, then you choose different port, connect it back, shell worked, you're happy. Now this process takes time, but the point is that when you go and try to practice things daily, it's a matter of time for you to engage with stuff that you do not know and are part of this pillar that I guys gave you. So when that thing comes and when this time comes, it's important to not take a step back from pen testing, but to also pay attention to the things that is there. Or maybe when you are coding your C2 project, you can find you're gonna eventually go into the place when you need to test it, and then again you're gonna need some network. You're gonna again need to build a agent. You're gonna again need to transfer the agent over the wire, install or run it on another system, bypass maybe the vendor, and get the beacon back. So this again, programming, again networking, and again you are touching on different pillars. And at some point you're gonna find out that everything is connected, and the next important stuff is to make a nice documentation. Now without documentation, trust me, you're gonna forget most of the stuff, and you're gonna need to reinvent or re-go through them again. The better your documentation is, the better you're gonna become. Doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter if it's gonna be Hack the Box or coding something or doing something, having strict documentation is a habit that's gonna shoot you in a long distance. It's gonna make you go far, just because you document the right thing, you make yourself organized, and you know where to access the things that you need. So the next time you have some kind of a similar problem, you can say, oh wait, I already have that. You're gonna go to your documentation, read it out, and resolve it faster. So that's one thing. And then again, we have the repeat step. And I cannot finish this cycle without speaking about AI. Now, AI itself is, I think, a great thing to have. And of course, with each thing, there is a wrong way on how to use it and a right way on how to use it. The wrong way on how to use it is called dependence, where you depend on AI to do stuff for you which you do not understand. Now, the key question is to ask yourself, do I understand what happens? Do I understand what's going on there? Do I understand what the AI is doing? Because if you do not understand what the AI is doing, you are using it the wrong way and you're depending on it because you don't know what happens. AI can be doing anything and you do not know what exactly is going to happen. You may have similar output, but you have no clue whatsoever. And if something breaks up or something is different next time, you're going to have no idea what to do. The right way on how to use AI is learning. Because when I was learning and doing labs, and I'm still doing that, but when I was before getting my first job, the only place where you can get your data from is forums, asking people, reading Reddit and so on. But now all of that, most of the things, not the people, but most of the things is on top of the AI. Because AI scraped all the web, it scraped all the posts, it scraped all the Stack Overflow, it scraped everything. And now it can give you a summarized solution about everything, which to me is a superpower. Because now you cannot just ask to do something, but you can ask it to make it clear what it does, how it does it, why it does it this way. And you can learn super fast just by asking the right questions. Instead of do that and then you test and move on, ask why and how you did that. And you're gonna be amazed how faster you can learn and essentially how fast you can get your skills from it. So to me, AI is great. I constantly ask it, how you've done that, how you've done that, how you've done that. Or when you have knowledge yourself and skills, you can say the AI exactly how to do a specific job. For example, recently I was coding, not me, but the AI, Quote Code. I was asking Quote Code to do DC sync in my agent Home C2, and I was specifically saying the AI how I want this DC sync to work, what internals to have, and what I expect as an outcome. So when you say it like that, AI now has more direct instructions and it's gonna deliver what you want. When you say give me just DC sync functionality, it's gonna most likely use Mimikatz, some kind of a stage it, get it on the system, run DC sync and give you the output, which again is not a good idea in most cases. So this was my idea about your checklist and what I wanted to say. With that, I want to say thank you for sticking by, and I really hope this content was useful. If that was the case and indeed this content was useful, make sure to smash the like and subscribe button because this helps my channel so much. Also, if you have any thoughts, questions, drop them in the comments. Comment section is all yours. Thank you so much. Thanks again to my patrons, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye bye.